Hi. So I was gonna film this video earlier today. This is Monday, the 27th. I need to post the video of when I met with the surgeon last week. So this will go up after that. So watch that first. But I just talked to my dad for an hour and a half, and then he had to call me back and tell me how I needed to vote. So it's now almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and hopefully this gets edited and out later this week. So anyway, today I saw my OBGYN again, and since seeing the pelvic floor surgeon, and I also had my first pelvic floor physical therapy appointment with the in-house physical therapist with my surgeon instead of the previous place that I was going. It was like in a gym, and I guess that woman at my previous physical therapy, I'm like shaking the camera, at my previous physical therapist was trained by the woman that I'm seeing now, so that's kind of cool. But I did that today, so I wanted to make another update video and tell you what my next month looks like. So I saw my OB this morning, and basically he said that he talked to the surgeon and they both agreed that I need to do a little more intensive physical therapy, more internal with my pelvic floor muscles instead of the massage and the TENS unit like I was doing that I mentioned in my first update. So watch that too. This will be part 3.5 of that series. So he agrees with my surgeon, and I need to do more intensive physical therapy because I'll get to that, but my muscles are making the problem worse. But I also, I guess the shot, the Lupron Depot shot that I was supposed to have after my laparoscopy, which makes my estrogen levels drop and kind of starves the endometrial tissue. I guess they have that in pill form now. So I'm apparently going to start that at the end of this month, or at the end of this week, excuse me. He said that he talked to the medical company. I didn't do the shot before because my insurance didn't want to cover it. So he said that this oral pill, that's basically the same medication, will probably most likely be covered by insurance and the medical company. Since it's brand new, I guess he said it came out 3 or 4 weeks ago. So at the end of this week, I should be starting that. The difference between that oral medication and what the shot would have been is the shot, he said, attaches to the endometrial tissue and almost makes it spike before it drops down. So I would have a really bad flare-up before the estrogen levels dropped and it started working. So this oral medication just immediately goes in and attacks it and makes my estrogen dip. So that should be good. He said there's less side effects that way. So I usually have a pretty bad problem with any kind of side effect. So that's good news, right? Ooh, highlight. But so that was my morning, and then I went to Dunkin' Donuts and got a sandwich, and then I had physical therapy. It was interesting. Actually, I have my paper here. So basically what she initially did was evaluate me, stretch my leg this way, stretch my leg that way, because all of your pelvis is including your hips and including your lower abdominal muscles and all of that. So all of that works together, and they evaluate what your range is with those. Mine was not good. And then she put these electrode pads, like if you were doing like monitoring your heart or something. They were like tiny little ones like that. Sorry, my nails are so yellow. Something spilled in my purse and on my nail file, and I was trying to get it off, and it has stained my fingers. So great. Anyway, so these little micro whatever, electrodes. She put them like on my butt. Like if you're laying and your knees are bent, like the inner part under your lady parts on your butt. That's where they went. And I guess it's just supposed to test like your muscle activity. So I had to do a few sets of contracting my pelvic muscles and then releasing immediately, and doing that a few times, and the machine would say work, and then you would do that, and then you would release. And then the next set was squeezing your pelvic muscles and holding them for 10 seconds, and then releasing when it said to rest. And it monitored different things. So I'm actually going to tell you what mine were. So when I did the set where you just squeeze and release, the work, which is how tightly you're able to squeeze those muscles, I guess, the energy you're able to put out, the unit, and I don't know what the unit should be, but what it should be is 35, and I got to 14.7. So that's not good. When you rest after that, it should come down to a 1, and mine didn't come down any lower than 3.7. My variability, the very slight differences between the number, should only get to 0.22, and mine was a 1.3 difference. And then my release time, so that's the seconds that it took for my muscles to actually release the tensity, is that a thing? It should be 0.2 seconds, and mine was 1.3 seconds. So my pain from endometriosis caused my pelvic, or IC, if I even have IC, watch the last video, caused pain in my pelvis, which makes your muscles clench up. If you like punch your arm or something, that muscle tenses, right? Not if you punch your own arm, but if somebody punches your arm, that muscle tenses up. So basically my muscles are always like that. So they constantly think that I am being hurt from an outside source, which in this case is either endometriosis or IC or both, but that's causing pain. So your body's reaction to that is fight or flight. If somebody punches you in the arm, it's fight or flight. That's your autonomic nervous system telling you what to do. So when you go into fight or flight mode, what happens, and this is what my physical therapist said, is that your energy that your body is creating is putting that out once you hit fight or flight to your arms, your legs, anything that can get you away or enable you to fight whatever's hurting you. So I'm basically not able to use my pelvic muscles because they're constantly like that, and I'm constantly in fight or flight mode, which also doesn't help my anxiety, and my anxiety doesn't help fight or flight mode. And so I have little control over my muscles, and I'm basically, physical therapy is going to help me learn to control them, learn to get out of flight or flight mode when I need to, stretches to help my mobility, which will help pain, pain. So I've been doing pelvic floor physical therapy for months now, but they were doing on a very low scale as far as intensity for stretching or any exercising or anything, because they didn't want me to be in pain until I saw my doctor again, or until I had another surgery. So this doctor is this pelvic floor physical therapist is saying, that's fine, but in the long term, it's not going to help you. Since you're not working, let's just do it. So that's basically what I'm doing. So anyway, I did that test where I clenched and immediately released. Those were my numbers. 35, it should be 35. I couldn't get above a 14.7, which means my muscles are not, I can't get the strength that I should have because of the fight or flight. They're not, my body isn't sending energy to those muscles. But I should be able to rest down to a 1. I can't get down past a 3.7 because they're so tense. So it's like I'm in this middle ground where I'm always tense, but I can't use them to get tighter. A little bit, but not like I should be able to. When I had to hold that tension for 10 seconds, these were the numbers. You should be able to get up to a 20. I couldn't get past a 6.2. So that means I have no strength in those muscles whatsoever, because I couldn't. That's very low. I should be able to rest down to a 1 again, but I couldn't rest down to a 4.8. So what my thinking is that once I had all that tension, my body would not release it to let me get more relaxed. So it was even higher than clench and release, because I was holding it for so long. The variations again should be 0.22 and mine were 1.7, so it was very different each time I did it. And I should be able to completely release my muscles in half a second, in 0.5 seconds. And I couldn't, it took me 3.5 seconds to release tension. So obviously my body is just not working the way that it's supposed to. Those are the normal numbers for a normal human being. So obviously going to this place, they don't expect me to hit those numbers, but mine were extremely low. Some people who go to pelvic floor physical therapy just have issues with their bladder, just have issues with incontinence, or just have issues with their urethra and the muscles around that, or just around your uterus. But I have all of those things. So it's extremely difficult, and basically I failed my test. She gave me a bunch of other papers. These are the stretches I have to do. I also saw the guy who showed me stretches and exercises. One of them, you're supposed to be able, if your legs are like this and you take this leg and you cross it over this leg and kind of roll your body, but keep your shoulders back. So you're like this. That leg should be able to lay on the mat next to, or on the bed next to you if you stretch your leg over. I'm at a 45-degree angle. I'm like this, and it's supposed to be like this. So if you can imagine what I'm even talking about, but my hip rotators and flexors are very, very stiff. And I also have a degenerative disc disease in my back and my SI joint, which is where your pelvis and your hip meet, is really inflamed a lot, and it causes a lot of sciatic problems for me. Basically, he said your sciatic nerves runs through a hole like this, and it should not touch anything, and when it does, that's when it hurts. And because my muscles are pushing on everything, it's sitting like that. So it hurts all the time. So that's something that I'm just gonna have to work on. I have 8 appointments in the next 4 weeks to be able to try to get more mobility. And she's the physical therapist woman said that all of your organs in your pelvis, like your uterus and your bladder and your kidneys and all that it's down there. Well, maybe not your kidneys. I don't know. Ovaries? Yes. I don't know. All the organs in your pelvis. They're supposed to slip and slide on each other and be really smooth. But she said endometriosis works like a glue. So if it's in between those organs, they kind of stick and they slide and there's friction and that hurts. There's this thing called Instant Ocean, which I guess is for saltwater aquariums, but she said a 10-minute bath in hot water with those could really help me. It's kind of like an Epsom salt thing. It helps the tissue and the muscles kind of relax and regenerate. She said that they used to do it for women who gave birth and had lacerations from birthing. So that's something I have to buy. So that kind of sucks, but 2 cups of Instant Ocean salt into a full tub of water, soak for 10 minutes. So that sounds easy and relaxing. She wants me to do a little bit of guided breathing and meditation because that really eases your body. And every time you start to tense up or worry or be anxious, go back to the breathing. And I've done a little meditation in my day, but not a ton. So it's very hard for me. Especially with anxiety, and she also thinks that I should get back on an anti-anxiety medication. So I'm gonna have to talk to the doctor about that. So anyway, that was physical therapy, and I'm pretty bummed out about yet again trying another medication. I'm hoping that it works. My question was, so after my surgery, I was supposed to have that shot that is the same as this oral medication because it would stop it from growing back, and kind of cut it at, just a few cells, kill those off instead of like actual tissue. So my question was like, how well is it gonna work if it's actual tissue now, because it's grown back since April. I haven't been on any medication to stop it, so what is that? What month are we in? Almost September. It's only almost 5 months, so that's a lot. And the tissue regenerates a lot more every time you're on your cycle. So if you have a cycle every month, that's almost 5 times it's grown back. So I feel like I'm gonna sneeze, and I apologize. I'm a little nervous about that medication just because I've tried so many and I haven't gotten a lot of relief. So I'm wanting this to work. But then again, like my mom said, like, okay, so you take it and then you feel better, but you can only take that medication for 6 months tops because it decreases your bone density, and there's a lot of horrible side effects from being on that from a lack of estrogen in your body that long. So my question is, well, what happens when it grows back the next time? I just keep randomly having to take this medication through the rest of my life. Yeah, it's another month of struggle, four more weeks, and that should be when I'm about done with my physical therapy. And then I'll talk to my OBGYN again and see where we're at, what we're doing. He said the next conversation we have is either gonna be, great, this medication works, or surgery. And he said that last time, but I think the only reason that this medication is an option is because it came out in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So, and I haven't seen him for about 5 to 6 weeks now. So it's come out since I saw him last. So that's the only reason this is even an option. But, nobody wants me to do the hysterectomy, and I've always been back and forth about it, but I'm so tired of this. I'm exhausted and weak and fed up. So I stopped getting paid at the end of this month. This coming Thursday is my last paycheck, and then I no longer have any income coming in. Eric has a good job, but it's really hard to do a household with 2 dogs and a child and us, and wanting to live my life as much as I can, because I can't sit here all day, every day in the bed. Like, I'm going crazy. I just hope we figure this out soon. I can't lose my insurance because then none of this matters. So, I don't know. We'll see in 4 weeks. I might do an update in between then when I've been doing more physical therapy. So let me know if you care to watch that, if you want to know. And until then, see ya.